Welcome back, everyone. This is Locked On Coyotes. We got part 2 of our episode for the Locked On Coyotes year-end review. We're going to get to all that, talking about some of the off-season pickups, the state of the Arizona Coyotes rebuild, taking a look forward, and even getting our hopes for 2024 in on today's episode, part 2 of the Locked On Coyotes podcast.
You're Locked On Coyotes, your daily podcast on the Arizona Coyotes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Once again, I want to thank everyone for making this show your first listen every day. We're free and available everywhere you get your podcasts, including on YouTube, SiriusXM, and ad-free on Amazon Music. Today's episode is also brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your purchase. Like I said, we're going into part 2 of this episode, Arizona Coyotes, Locked On Coyotes year-end review. We got a lot of things to get to, so let's just jump right into it. Let's go ahead and switch gears here, Matthew. We talked about that, and we talked about the election and all the stuff. We talked about the show and you bringing you on. Let's go to one next step here. Let's talk about the state of the Arizona Coyotes rebuild.
Oh, okay.
Right.
I was going to bring up.
I know. We're going to get to that. We're going to get to that in a little bit. I know what you want to do. We're going to get to that in a little bit. But the state of the Arizona Coyotes rebuild, because I think we have the latter, the latter half of last season, this recent offseason for the Coyotes, and this first half of this season. So we got a chance to see a lot happen. Mm-hmm. And in just this calendar year, it seemed like things kind of sped up. A lot of frustration too, right? For this Arizona Coyotes team, a team that we thought was going to really tank hard for Connor Bedard, and they almost did, but let's look at it this way. Chicago and Anaheim and San Jose and whatnot, they were worse teams. The Coyotes weren't. The Coyotes were bad last year, but they weren't god awful terrible that we thought they were going to be, which kind of leads us into what they are now. And it's interesting that we look at how quickly they are getting better, because it's something that none of us would have expected, right? The talent last year even wasn't great, but they still actually pulled on some weird wins. And they surprised a lot of people last year. This year, they're surprising a lot of people in completely different ways. And you go look at the offseason, they acquired some talent that they're speeding up. They're on this point of this rebuild. I'm like, wow, I did not expect this in year 3.
Where do we start? Let's start with briefly the reaction to the Coyotes losing the Turd Bowl, where the Coyotes decided to stop playing bad and let other bad teams out-bad them at the end of the year. And I will still stand by this, all right? I don't change my opinion at the time. It was stupid as hell to ruin your chances at getting a top 3 pick just for some meaningless wins at the end of the season. Because even right now, as happy as we were with them, as happy as we are with the team right now, we're not talking about those last couple of wins. We don't care about those last couple of wins because it meant literally nothing. They lose out on a couple of players that might have really helped this team. Imagine this team with someone like Adam Fantilli, the player I wanted from the start, not because Connor Bedard's overrated, but because I'm like, the Coyotes are not picking first. And I don't think I'll ever see this team pick first in my lifetime. I decided to just
not even that one, but what? Leo Carlson or Will Smith. There were some good players in the top 5.
Yeah, there really was. And they even passed on guys like Zach Benson, who I'm not going to make an argument, oh, he wouldn't have worked here. He might have. He might not have. But you got to look at what you got. And what you got is a pretty solid defenseman. But what I think it's Buffalo. I'm terrible with picking teams out. Gitson Benson is a really dynamic scorer. So it's like, we're not really going to fully know for a few years, but that's something that you can look at with a question mark. And You have to watch it play out.
I mean, and it's nothing against, the eventual drafting of Dmitry Shemishev and Daniel Boot. I think they're going to turn out to be fine hockey players, and it just shows how they're doing in the KHL right now. But again, you passed up to have the opportunity by winning, the opportunity to have someone like Adam Fantilli, who's already in the NHL right now, playing pretty fine for himself in his rookie year. I'm not sure what Leo Carlsson's doing up right now. I think he's doing all right for himself. I think he's.
Let's check on Leo Carlsson, because we can do live checks. I like that. All right, so far through 22 games, 8 goals, 7 assists, 15 points. He's not bad.
Not bad at all.
Numbers in Anaheim.
Not bad at all. It's interesting when you look at all that, right? And what the Coyotes missed out on. I'm the kind of person here, though, Matthew, that I'm not going to dwell too much on that and look at it's like, all right, in this case, it's like trust a little bit. Just get enough trust into Bill Armstrong, because so far, most of the moves that he's made has been very smart. He knows what he's doing in building this team.
Yeah, he really does. I'm still like, just for consistency, they should have lost those extra games to get an even better player. But once you are out, like once that is no longer a possibility, once you have discussed that, once that's now like on like that's past, we're past that, you can't change it, then you got to look at what you got. And considering how Bill Armstrong looked like he got away with murder when he got Simashev and Boot, when Simashev was ecstatic about drafting his teammate, with how Boot has been really good, and the dude is massive over there in the KHL this year, how Simashev has been playing solid hockey. Simashev is still the best defensive prospect in the system, borderline immediately. And there are some good players like Jeremy Langlois in the system right now. Victor Soderstrom is showing some steps in the AHL, but I kind of feel like he has to really start showing it. But Yanis Moser's already an everyday NHLer, and it didn't even take him a half a season to achieve that. There's been some positivity, not as much depth as we would like, but a lot of positivity towards the defense and rebuilding the defensive core. Yeah, it sucks to lose out on Fantilli. I'd rather have Fantilli and take a chance at getting Simashev later in the first. However, it's all, water under the bridge, because that's not on the table. And what we got is a D-man that can be that number one, if not a top pairing defenseman, and a big dude that, let's just say, Lawson Krause decides to move on later. You can, or you can have an even bigger meat line with Lawson Krause, Jackery McBain, and Daniel Boot.
And I think especially when you take a look at the fact that, for example, like on defense, how you're not like Matt Dumba isn't going to be on the team for a long time.
No, he's probably the one and done.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And that, I think that's the kind of thing, is there going to be some floaters coming in and out of the league, in and out of the Coyotes, just to fill in time until those players are ready.
Yep, so we don't have to rush them anymore. So we don't have situations where we have all these undercooked prospects that are thrown to the wolves. Like, we're actually doing it properly, and kids that are in the lineup, like, we're back to where, let the kid play. And honestly, that's probably a good thing, because it shows that they're actually taking enough time, and maybe they overcook a little bit, but the amount of examples that we can look at, like, he should be at a higher level, is maybe like Gunther should have got a call up when the injuries happened. That would have been about a 10-game stretch. Maybe Donor could have got a game or two. Now we're splitting hairs a little bit, because they're actually cooking the prospects the degree that they need to. And we're not just going to throw Josh Doan out there. Figure it out. You're a first-line winger now. Put the franchise on your back, kid.
Yeah, and I think all that said, with all that said, it definitely just feels like a breath of fresh air, right? Of where we are in the Armstrong system, a little over 3 years in, because Armstrong took over 4 years ago, right? But like, he really didn't start like, yeah, it's 4 years ago because he took over in 2020, right?
September 17th, 2020.
Yeah, so he took over 4 years ago, and the first year was kind of like somewhat of a wash because that was a shortened season. There's only so much you can do. So the next 3 seasons, including this one, we really started to get to see what he's capable of. In this amount of time, I feel like he's done more for this team in progressing forward than the previous GMs, and it feels like a breath of fresh air because of that.
I'm someone who is very high on Don Maloney, and I still respect Don Maloney. There is plenty of aspects that he wasn't the greatest, but he also took a shoestring budget, literally nothing, an NHL-owned team, and took him to 3 straight playoff appearances and a conference final. In my opinion, he's still, and Bill Armstrong is like right behind him, and he's about to surpass him. He's still the best GM in Coyotes history. Now, I think Bill Armstrong is going to bring a cup to the Valley. I think this team will win a Stanley Cup. And in retrospect, because obviously I didn't have a fully developed brain when I was watching the Maloney era, in retrospect, minus 2012 when they really had that shot, I don't think we could say that we had full confidence they were going to win a cup. I can say I have full confidence in GMBA. There might be 1 or 2 small things. It happens with every single GM. It's always going to happen. But I don't think he's made a single bad move. People point to the Connor Timmins trade. He's going to have to get waived. They're going to lose him for nothing. You at least got something, and Douglas is still with Tucson. So you at least got something in that deal. And plus, Timmins still has a bunch of injury issues. It might have never worked here. And that's his worst move. Oh, Dumba? It's a 1-year contract. There is no such thing as a bad 1-year contract. It could be a $12 million a year 1-year contract. And guess what? If it doesn't work out, it was a 1-year contract.
Then you don't have to worry about it too much. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. But that's kind of looking at the overall just state of the rebuild. And again, in a big picture sort of way, what we're going to do is coming up, we're going to take a look at the free agents that were picked up and some of the offseason moves, including picking up one or officially signing one Logan Cooley as Matt shows up. That's going to be coming up right after this.
And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. As the weather gets colder, the NFL offers stay hot on FanDuel. Because right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 if the Cardinals can do anything. Or if you just bet against the Cardinals. Right? If you've been thinking about getting into FanDuel, there's no better time to get into the action. The app is so easy to use with a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
Let's move on and talk about the offseason, Matthew, and the pickups the Coyotes made. Because I feel like that was huge strides forward when it talks kind of looking at specific things when it comes to taking steps forward in this rebuild. And we'll get to Logan Cooley in just a couple minutes, but getting some of these other offseason pickups, getting Jason Zucker and even Matt Dumba, Sean Dursey, you name it, right? Bill Armstrong was meaning business when he picked up these players as free agents, signing contracts, bringing Nick Bukestad back. He knows what he wants to do. And this dude wants to win.
How dare you forget Travis Dermott?
Travis Dermott too. No, Travis Dermott too.
This was a defender.
I love Travis. I love Travis Dermott. The dude who broke the broke the ban, but went against that ban.
Like a Chad, did not care if he was gonna lose some money. He was like, "I'm gonna wear the tape, idiot." But no, this guy is someone that there was no expectations, nothing. You hope that he could stay healthy. You hope that he can bounce back and be a solid defender for you. Obviously, his best offensive season was 17 points with the Maple Leafs in 18-19. All right.
Right.
You hope you can get something out of it. So far, only the 1 point, but he has been so solid. Not amazing, not a top pairing defenseman, but a solid depth defenseman. It did hurt when he missed, I think around 9 games. My math might be a little off. It hurt the team. So
absolutely.
It's like, that's an impact player. And that was a depth signing that cost them borderline nothing, Robyn, to get an impactful depth guy.
No, you're right. And I think that's one of the things that I think like Bill Armstrong has been best at, kind of like finding those like, those diamond in the rough, or like not even that term, I guess I guess more of just like, finding the quote used leftover that no one else wanted, but then all of a sudden make it into a gourmet dish kind of thing. You know what I mean, right?
Oh, do you want to talk about the gourmet dish that is the leading goal scorer on the team? One Michael Carcone. Get Carconed, dog. Like, this dude, AHL points leader, came out of nowhere. All right. He spent a couple of years in Tucson system, 30 games, 14 goals, 4 assists, 18 points. If he scores 2 points tonight, he's tied with Nick Schmaltz in points. So tied for top 3 on the team. Who had that on the bingo card, Robyn? No one. And if you say you did, you're lying, unless you are Carcone's mom.
So, because let's go back, Matthew, to the offseason when the Coyotes negotiated their contract with Michael Carcone over the offseason. You and I were questioning what really is Michael Carcone's role in this team. Yeah, he was the AHL's leading scorer, but what role does he have this year? Because it was a one-way contract he was signed. What role does he have have this year with the Coyotes? What is he, the extra forward? That number 13 guy? Like, we were questioning. We really were. And boy, has he proved us wrong. He proved everyone wrong, and just has been absolutely phenomenal.
I am going to correct you, Robyn. I said he was going to be a bottom sixer. I said he was going to have that spot. It just depended on if they were going to want to give him the spot. And obviously he had to work for it. He had the right mindset. Like, I still got a lot to prove. And boy, is he proven. And also, good guy Lawson Krause keeps waiting for Carcone to get at least 2 goals ahead of him before he scores to make it like a 1-goal differential. Krause is just too nice to take the goal scoring lead back. He's just letting Carcone have this one and then keeping paces with everything Carcone does.
It's been absolutely fantastic. And that's just, and again, that's just picking, picking just one after another. I'll add one more of another player who's been a huge surprise that was, acquired over this, over the course of the year, and Michael Kesselring.
Oh, I thought you were going with Kerfoot. We can talk about Kesselring.
Talk about
Kesselring.
Because, like, I felt like a lot of people kind of like, there was some kind of like hype with a very small sect of Coyotes fans who are like actual hockey fans who are like, ooh, this kid actually might be really good. But a lot of people kind of just dismissed him because they had no idea who he was. They're like, who is this dude? And all of a sudden, look at where he's at right now. He's playing hot. He got called up from Tucson midway through the early part of this season, and he's been hot. He's been doing fantastic.
Yeah, and his minutes are a little bit more reserved right now. He's the average is somewhere around, I think, high 13s, low 14s. But he's getting 18 shifts tonight over his last 5 games, 2 goals, 5 assists, 7 points in 15 games. He's actually, Robyn, he is 15th, tied for 14th with Liam O'Brien on the team in scoring, and he's played about half the games as most of the players. He's bringing the offensive, the offensive upside that we didn't even know he had. He played well in Tucson. He didn't throw a fit whenever he didn't make the opening night roster. He's just worked, and now it's paid off. And he, in my opinion, considering how they haven't set everyone else is healthy now, they haven't sent him back down.
And the roster spot. And we're recording this before, we recorded all this before Christmas. Just a heads up, everyone. And the holiday roster freeze came in on the 23rd. Obviously we don't know if he got sent down or not. There's a likelihood he didn't. And if he didn't get sent down by the roster freeze, that means he survived up until Christmas with the Coyotes, and that's a feat that I don't think any of us really expected.
Nope. None of us. And Yuso is not going to play tonight against San Jose as we're recording. I'll give you a little bit of a dangle there, but they're probably going to have 2 extra defensemen on the roster, because right now, unless Kesselring goes through a massive slump or Tucson desperately needs a defender, you can't justify sending Kesselring down right now. He's playing too well. It would be a bad decision. Right now, it would.
It could mess with the momentum. It could mess with the momentum. It really could. But what we're gonna do is, let's talk about Kerfoot first before we go to another break, and then of course we got Cooley right after. Cooley's gonna get his own segment because
Cooley's getting his own segment. We have to speed run Jason Zucker, who's been a very good engine, 5 goals, 5 assists, 10 points in 24 games. I love it when he plays with Cooley. Keep him with Cooley. And then Jonathan Dursey has been our number 1 defender. Like, a 2nd-round pick bought us a number 1 defenseman, and he's been so much better defensively than I've ever seen anyone give him credit for. So either he did a complete 180 or he was always underrated on defense, but he has been phenomenal this year. Now take it away with Alex Kerfoot.
No, Alex Kerfoot's been another, I wouldn't even say necessarily surprised, because he was written off slightly as a middle sixer to towards bottom sixer on other teams, because who was he with? He was with Colorado. He was with
Toronto.
Toronto. He was on teams in which he never really had the opportunity to shine. I think that's the kind of thing I like about the Coyotes is you get more opportunities, right? Again, this team is still a lot more talented now than it has in the opportunities that players got in the previous couple of years, but they're still getting the opportunities. And I feel like it's really nice to see that. Kerfoot has really surprised. He's really been a huge part of this team. He can easily fit in nicely as a top six forward if really need be, but he doesn't really need to be. He can, he fits greatly along the power play unit. I've got very few complaints about this dude.
Yeah, started off quiet. The scoring took a while to get there, but he never complained. He kept working hard. He's actually averaging, I just want to double check, the most ice time he's ever averaged in his career. It's 17 minutes and 10 seconds. His previous was 2 seasons ago with Toronto. We had his career high in points with 51, and it was 15 minutes, 12 seconds on the ice. And then over the course of a 10-game period, it was more realistically 6 games because a bunch where he didn't score any points. He was a point-per-game player over a 10-game stretch because of how many points he was getting. He had 3 multi-assist games. One was a 3-assist night. He is giving them all the depth scoring they need. And even though I still stand by he's a bottom sixer, he sure can fill in the middle of the top 6 when you need him for brief periods of time.
Absolutely. And I felt like that's kind of why it's super nice to have a player who's as versatile as Alex Kerfoot is.
It really is.
All right. What we're going to do, though, we're just going to continue and wrap up our year in review. We got a couple more things left on the plate, including the one I'm sure a lot of you guys have been waiting for and talking about. That is right, Logan Cooley. We're going to get to that right after this. And today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. I know a lot of you guys are frustrated when it comes to buying tickets. I know I am. I've gotten sick and tired of buying a ticket and all of a sudden getting a seat that absolutely looked terrible from the inside the venue. Not to mention, got surprised by this whole lot of extra fees that ended up costing double what I wanted. What initially they said the cost of the ticket was. Game Time is out there, the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase, because you can see the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. They got all-in pricing, so you can total you can see your total up front, so you know exactly what the kind of deal you're getting without all the hidden fees. Buy tickets in seconds with just 2 apps. They have all the deals you can get right up to the start of the event, even up to an hour after the event starts. That's why it's awesome to find the greatest last-minute deals on Game Time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create account, redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, Matt, it's the moment everyone has been waiting for on this year in review. We are talking Logan Cooley, a massive addition for the Arizona Coyotes, Matthew. Because here's the thing, and there's a huge timeline when it comes to this. Because after the election, there was a lot of discussion of talking to Logan Cooley. People were asking him, what his plots are and everything. He decides pretty shortly after the election that he's going to go play in his sophomore year at the University of Minnesota. He claimed that there wasn't and I kind of believe him a little bit on this, that the election wasn't the reason he decided to go back at first. And I also feel like there's some truth to that, but also I'm like, yeah, but timing wise, it kind of felt a little bit weird. But then fast forward a couple months, all of a sudden, change of heart. He signed his entry-level contract. And it seems to me that a lot of that, again, can be credited towards Clayton Keller. After he just talked with Clayton Keller, it seemed that he was convinced that he is ready to join the Coyotes instead of going back for a sophomore year at Minnesota. And hey, like what a decision that was, and what a difference it's made for the Arizona Coyotes.
I remember so many people were like, see, the election's the reason. Now, I'm actually going to say I do believe the election was the deciding factor. I believe he was conflicted, and then when it's like, okay, it's not going to be a good environment this year, he made the smart decision to go back to college. However, they talked to him at training camp, and that's kind of when I was starting to get pretty optimistic because whatever they said to him or presented to him, talking to Keller about the arena and the future, had to have been something really good. And he starts off playing well, the rookie assist leader for a while. He was a point per game player for about, I think, 7 games. Finally gets his first goal at Anaheim, I think November 1st, right there, November 1st. He currently sits at 3 goals, 14 assists, 17 points in 31 games. Maybe slightly disappointing compared to expectations, because at one point, Robyn, throughout the preseason, and it was at that my first ever game as credential media, with how confident he looked. I know it was a preseason game, and I said at the time, factor that in, but I'm like, he could score 30. With how natural of a goal scorer he was, how confident he was, the kid could score 30. And it's a little unfortunate that he hasn't got there yet. However, it's year 1, and he's still scoring points at a decent rate. Even Keller only scored 65 points his rookie year, nowhere near his high of 86.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. And I think that's kind of the thing that we have to all take a look at is at the time, a lot of us were having the expectation is going to be Cooley for Calder. I mean, there's still time for him to show that he's worthy of a Calder trophy, but he hasn't shown enough for it. And it's not a knock against him for it, though. He's still playing fine for what, for what the Coyotes need. It's just not what we expected, right?
And he'll get better. He will.
Yeah, absolutely. So no one is really worried about it. I want to say this though, as a retrospective thing, and it's really funny too. When the news the whole Cooley situation came out, and that he signed his contract, in my brain, I'm like, okay, thank God I don't have the Craig Morgan curse, and the fact that because I was about to go on vacation, right, and it happened before I went on vacation, so I was like, yes, I got it right before I go on vacation.
Oh my God.
So by the time I went on vacation, like I don't have to worry about anything. All the big news that could have happened, and it's already there.
You see, I'm lucky that I'm unimportant, so the news doesn't happen when I'm on vacation because nobody cares.
Oh, that's good. That yeah.
No, it's with Cooley. I've seen some hyperbolic worrying, and I'll go ahead and level with you. I can understand a little bit of concern. We saw one version of Cooley, and throughout the preseason, we are seeing a different version where he very much. I'm going to compare him to Verbata. Verbata, whenever he had the opportunity to be the scorer on that line, the Hansel, Wizard, and Verbata line, he just adopted that. He still passed the puck, excellent passer, but he very much like, okay, I'm a finisher. Then whenever he lost his line mates, he's like, okay, I want the puck on my stick more. I want to set up. And Cooley has very much adopted the setup, pass first mindset. Frustratingly so at times, but 19-year-old kid, have him in the league for a couple of years. It might not be starting out the way that we all expected. It's still starting out well. And if this is the baseline, all he's got to do is Matthias Michelli this and shoot the gosh darn dang
pass
nabbit
it to the net.
puck.
Pass it to the net.
So it's going to be very interesting because I will be disappointed if he's not at least a 20-goal scorer. Not necessarily this year. There's still time. It would be nice, but I'm not going to expect that this year. But if he doesn't end up becoming a 20-goal scorer next year or the year after, I will be very disappointed because he has that electric shot and offensive energy. But if you're at least the setup man as much as he can be, and you get a really good free agent, let's say next year, to pair with him, then at the very least, you're still getting good use out of the kid.
No, absolutely. You're absolutely right. We are running a little bit out of time on this, so I do want to do one thing before we close things off, Matthew. And it's like something we can do in the next few minutes. I mean, it doesn't really matter how long this takes, but I want to hear your hopes for the Coyotes in this show in 2024.
Hopes for the Coyotes and this show. You know what, Robyn? You want to do a little bit of editing tonight?
Oh God.
Do I get one since the end of the year? One? Fine. One. Close the deal. Get me my gosh darn mother trucking arena. All right. Build this thing. Build this shrine. Put a statue of Shane Doan out there. Put a statue of Gary Bettman out there. And you know what? Just for the love of it, put number 4 in the rafters because I think Zbigniew Bacalek needs more respect. And also, make the playoffs because it'd be hilarious. It would be hilarious if they make the playoffs and they people are complaining that there's a college arena featured in the playoffs. Please do that. That's my hope. That's my genuine hope is arena deal, playoffs.
That will just put all the Canadian hockey fans into complete disarray and just spiral and just dissension spiral into madness. And I would love that.
It'd be great. It'd be so great.
And for those Canadian hockey fans out there who are actually rooting for us, I don't count you. You guys are awesome.
We love you guys. I've knocked down the Canadian jokes because either I'm not delivering them properly. A lot of people think I actually don't like Canadian or something. No, I don't like mainly Quebec, Montreal, and Toronto fans, which happens to be a lot of Canadian fans. However, I don't actually hate Canadians, so I've changed up how I deliver the jokes. So we're being a little more specific, so y'all know.
Exactly. Anything else that you want that you feel like we should touch on? Because I feel like the hopes for 2024 can be really a lot here. Because I feel like there's a lot to get to, right? There's a lot that can be done in just the next year.
Reach 500 subscribers so that way I could retire with my fragile ego. Because if Locked On gets bigger than me, I'm gonna cry.
Didn't I say? Didn't I say it's in your contract you can't retire until 1,000?
1,000? I'm gonna walk away at the height of it. But no, I hope the show continues to grow. And you know what? For me personally, I hope I eventually get used to people actually like watching me, and just like once, I'm not gonna say who it was, but like while I was doing work, someone walked up, "Hey, don't like, aren't you the co-host of that Locked On show?" I forget people watch me. I forget it, so it's really weird. So hopefully I get used to that in 2024. We get a little. It is
a really interesting experience to get used to. As someone who's been a host of this show for, at the time everyone's been listening to this, just about 3 years now. I can't believe it's been that long. I'm not 100% used to it. Someone comes up to me, taps my shoulders, like, "Hey, you're Robyn, right? Hosted a lot." I'm like,
"Well, yes, yeah, sure. That's my birthday." Don't wear it out.
But it sure is interesting. So like what I'm telling you is you never really get fully used to it until like you get to Craig Morgan level, in which yeah.
I'll never get used to it. I will never. I won't. I refuse, because I go into every one of these with the same exact mindset, that I'm just here to have some fun. I never consider people actually listening to this. I never consider, oh yeah, I work around some of these people that might potentially hear this.
So stop. So you know what? As a closing thought to our listeners in 2024, if you see Matt on the street or work anywhere else, just say hi to him and say and say Locked On is awesome.
Damn, I'm gonna have one person walk up. I liked Locked On until you showed up. If the first person that does that, I'll give you a hockey puck if I have one on me.
There we go. I love that.
I'll start carrying a hockey puck when I'm at certain places. Yeah, I liked Lock On before you showed up. Congratulations, Mr. Beast Challenge.
That means it's like you paid attention, and that means you are an everydayer, sir. And we appreciate that you listen to Locked On Coyotes every day.
If you are at the end of part 2 of this, the day after Christmas, and you're listening to this portion, you are either such a hater that I live rent-free in your head, or you are a fan. And I know that is cringy to say. I don't have fans. I am literally just a big old dumb idiot head that loves hockey and loves talking about hockey. But if you're at this point, that's what you are. You're a top tier hater or a fan.
One or the other. There's no in between.
No in betweens, Robyn. One or the other. You're a fan or you hate me. And honestly, I want to meet the one person that hates me that keeps watching this, because my God, you need help.
Anyways, I think we're just about done for this episode, unless you have any closing thought.
Closing thoughts. Actually, yeah. This holiday season, please go to your local animal shelter and consider giving a dog a home. That's all I got for you.
Great message. Absolutely beautiful message. But that's going to be it for today's episode of Locked On Coyotes. I appreciate to all you guys who stuck it through this 2-part, from listening to our initial release on Christmas Day yesterday and our part 2 listening today. We really appreciate your support of Locked On Coyotes, and your support, again, all your support you've had all year long. We still got a couple of episodes left of the calendar year, so be sure to stay tuned to that. Like, comment, subscribe if you have yet to already, guys. We're available everywhere you get your podcasts. Be sure to check us out on YouTube. We have that YouTube channel, YouTube Music as well, if you want to subscribe to our podcast on there. Apple, Google, Spotify, Amazon Music, ad-free on Amazon Music, by the way. Also, again, we're on Sirius XM Radio. You can check us out on the Sirius XM Radio app. Just search up Locked On Coyotes. Don't forget to interact with us on social media, though. We're on Facebook, facebook.com/LockedOnCoyotes, and on X at @LO_Coyotes. I'm personally at Robyn_Leonio. Matthew Jacobson is at the AZ Sports Guy. Interact with us, ask the question you might have. We might answer right back, or in a future episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast. Thanks again, everyone, for listening. Hope you guys are staying safe out there. Hope you guys are staying healthy. And don't forget to howl on.